Elections has been the song sung and repeat on the lips of many Nigerians since the President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidy, which was well termed a scam that had to end. Although a lot of Nigerians saw reason and understood why subsidy had to go, one could safely conclude they were not prepared for the gruesome storm that would ravage their households. According to NBS report in May 2023, inflation rate grew to 22.41% from 22.22% in April. Not so much increase at inception, but the dance began. Inflation swung its ape rhythmically as it steadily ascends the stairs of poor standard of living, accompanied with loud tunes of dismay from citizens. One would think inflation confused the wailing for encouraging chants to keep going faster. That would have perhaps been a good explanation for 28.9% recorded in December 2023. Although the CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso expects headline inflation to fall to 21.4% in 2024, it's not a surprise that piece of information had the effect of a single drop of water in the Sahara Desert on a very hot afternoon in February. Here is why.
The government should not wait for the whole country to protest about food crisis, because the global movement against hunger is there to assist the farmers. The All Farmers Association of Nigeria also is there to assist farmers, to organize farmers. And the government should not wait, because it is delicate, because food crisis is one of the worst crises.
I want make government help us. It is there too dear. The tomatoes we dey buy am, the crate 8,000, but now we dey buy am 20 something. Pepper 50,000. Pepper we say we dey buy before 35. If it dey well 6,000. Now pepper now 50,000. If it cheap when I be 48. I beg make government, make them help us. Make them come to we rescue. Make them help us. If na farmer, if na money they won't give up, make them find one or two to take help us. I beg.
Need money. Things too dear. We dey suffer. We dey hungry. We go buy load today before day break. We go hear say they don't put money. We need money. Money not there. And things hard. Okay, I buy mangi yesterday. So I buy mangi about almost 18.5. I hear this morning say mangi now is 25,000 for a carton.
And the demand don't cost 118. Why I go job now? My begin 7 begin. I got 7 begin. I don't get the thing where I would give on.
But this thing why they talk, so they use pidgin English they talk on, because now worry on a day. We dey vex or wetin dey happen for the country. We need God to help us, because where the country they be, I will not understand. So say 1 cube of maggi na 20 naira, basket of garri na ammo, even rice self.
Food insecurity in this country is that it seems to be that the government is not interested in that is on farming. We get to make the government have interest in farming, though insecurity also. Government should provide something that will make that is secure farmers when going to farm, and also be ready to assist farmers.
Grass I don't tire. Beans don't go 5,000. Rice don't go 75,000 for bag now. So I don't know where we dey go. When they bread they go add money now. Like the white beans basket now 3.5. Last week we said 3.3. Now this week they gonna go 3.5. Today again they enter 3.7. Now today again now brown beans and honey beans alone don't go 5,000.
Nigeria boasts of 4 refineries, yet one year terms them shy of useless since they weren't functioning. However, many Nigerians had looked up to the announcement that a private refinery would start operating in middle of 2023. But like promises of better times in the land, it eluded that year. But more good news came in. The Port Harcourt refinery was scoped to start functioning by the end of the year. That came to pass as the first stage of the rehabilitation was successful. Price of gas was projected to come down after festivities of the New Year, but as at mid-February 2024, it remained at an all-time high. On 19 December 2023, the National Assembly frowned at the inability of the Presidential Steering Committee on the Compressed Natural Gas (CNG) initiatives to account for the money allocated to it from the 500 billion naira meant for palliatives. Speaking on behalf of the Senate and House of Representatives Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources, Senator Jarigbe Agam Jarigbe alleged that the Presidential Committee was carrying out its activities in secret. According to the lawmaker, the budget of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources is neither here nor there. It does not represent the policy directions of Mr. President on the decade of gas and usage of compressed natural gas as an alternative source of fuel.
The Steering Committee on the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative has also refused to brief the National Assembly on the activities and programs they are carrying out. The activities are shrouded in secrecy, and the Ministers of State, Petroleum Resources, Oil and Gas are totally in the dark as to the activities of the Presidential CNG Initiative. In trying to get self-help, the Presidential CNG Initiative has embarked on a fundraiser which comes up tomorrow in order to extort funds from so-called stakeholders. As a parliament, we do not align ourselves with running government programs in disregard of the provisions of the law. We cannot achieve what Mr. President wants without providing for the CNG project and other very important projects in the Appropriations Act. Doing so will only open a window of fraud which will impact negatively on the citizenry. Let it be on record that the Steering Committee of the PCNGI cannot account for the funds already provided from the 500 billion naira approved for palliatives for the purpose of CNG advancement in the country.
In 2018, we published a paper about the feasibility studies on modular refinery. My name is I am the current Vice Chancellor of my university, and we published a paper, and we even mentioned there that if you have all the 4 refineries, as it were, Kaduna and the 2 in Rivers State, one in Warri, if you have all of them working with the Dangote refinery coming on stream, we predicted 2021, as it was planned for that time. In 2022, by 2022, I said we will still be having an energy deficit if 4 of them are working at 100%. Now you have the 4 refineries down. They are down. Dangote is just about coming up now. Your guess is as good as mine. And for any baby, any child born in this country, I don't want to count the deaths. There's an extra energy need because everything about us is energy. So if you look at that report, it's available online on the feasibility study on modular refineries in Nigeria. Moni Botanacha, Professor Rimruke, and Ogbon. We published that. We said Dangote coming on stream might not even help Nigeria. And you can hear in the news that they want to import the US. Again, do the cost-benefit analysis and then find out whether it will help the local consumers. I hope you are aware that there are a lot of products, petroleum products produced in this country, but it's not for Nigerian markets. So the question is that will Dangote refinery satisfy local markets? I don't think so. You need multiple refineries. Even as at that, we did predict that you need a minimum of 20 modular refineries producing at 20,000 barrels per day capacity for this country to be get out of the energy poverty that we currently have, since we all rely mostly on petroleum products. So these are the challenges and everything. Again, like I said, we need to have a sincere conversation. The figures are there. Federal Bureau of Statistics are there. They are out there. And the question is that how many of these mobile refineries have been issued license? How many of them are selling? Your guess as good as mine what they did with the allocation of crude oil and the rest of them. So there are a lot of publications that have shown that the processes might not have achieved what the federal government intended. But again, we have to take some of the blame on ourselves too. So These are issues that we need to have sincere conversation on if we need to move on as a nation.
For many Nigerians who dared to hope the refinery functioning will bring down the price of crude oil products, they were quickly aroused from the childlike dream by the statement of NNPCL's GMD Mele Kyari after he was summoned by Senate Committee on Appropriations on the potential drop in pump price of petroleum owing to the expected functionality of refineries. Kyari clarified his comment after he was interrogated again. He explained that it might be possible to have a reduction, but it is not the main objective of the refineries. He buttressed that maintaining the energy security target has fostered the confidence that in 2024, Nigeria will become a net exporter of petroleum products. He, however, lamented the legal crude oil connection costing the nation billions of naira.
There will be total oil demand of up to 100 million barrels per day of oil equivalent in the energy mix. So oil and gas will not vanish. So oil will be bought for different purposes. It will be converted for different chemicals and different materials. But production of oil and gas will continue, but in a very cleaner way. And the countries that will survive this are those who are able to produce cheap, efficiently, and quickly to the market. And our plan is to make sure that we become a player in that space so that our cost becomes low and people will buy from us. This is the plan. But in terms of the transition itself, we are focused on gas because we are actually a gas country and we're not an oil country. It's actually a gas country with associated oil. But we have historically focused on oil production because, producing gas takes longer time, taking it to the market, and also it has lower margin. And therefore, everybody is focused on oil that comes to the table quickly, and also it has bigger margin. And everything is changing now. Gas is the transition fuel. We are focused on creating the domestic gas infrastructure. We are already delivering them.
The 2024 appropriation bill, tagged the budget of renewed hope, laid before us by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is predicated on the oil benchmark of $77.86. And also the output projection is 1780 million barrels per day in terms of crude. And as you all are aware, there are a lot of uncertainty in the oil markets. The oil price is coming down and the benchmark is going up. And I believe we need clarification. Also, as at last appropriation bill, we are doing 1.2, 1.3 million per barrel. Now we are having 1.780 million per barrel as contained in the Appropriation Act submitted by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And I think I can just get this for you. If I remember part of it, you have over 4,800 illegal connections on our pipeline. Illegal connection. That means in some lines, within 100 kilometers of pipeline, Mr. Chairman, you will have as much as 300 insertions. That means every kilometer, you will have an insertion. And pipelines, for being what they are, if you continue this insertion, even when you seal it up, it can no longer hold the pressure that it will do. Therefore, even when you produce the oil, you cannot deliver them at the required pressure, and therefore the volume will also be lost. The situation we have in the Niger Delta in terms of security is a calamity. And I'm happy he spoke his mind, so let me also speak my mind. You don't have this situation anywhere else in the world. And I have the misfortune of sitting in very many fora where we are asked exactly what are you doing in your country, Mr. President, to engage non-state actors to protect critical access as the last resort for a solution to a massive challenge. It's very abnormal, sir. It's completely abnormal It shouldn't have been, it should have happened. Talk less of even involving communities in security of assets.
The NNPC Limited's Chief Corporate Communications Officer Olufemi Shoneye, in a statement on 7th February, announced successful commencement of oil production from the Apple West field located approximately 175 kilometers from Port Harcourt. He said it would add 14,000 barrels per day condensate to the nation's production. As NNPCL jubilates, the issue of oil theft and illegal refining crosses one's mind. Some have opined that the federal government might want to consider utilizing mode of operation of these illegal refineries to solve problem of unemployment and energy crisis cuddling the country tightly.
It started making visible impact with increased federal allocations and many legacy projects. We therefore urge Nigerians to disregard the antics of saboteurs and their sponsors who are fighting to have a change of leadership at the Navy to someone they can be able to manipulate. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also not unaware of harbored discontent against the Chief of Naval Staff by those who felt he is not from their part of the country right from when he was appointed. Allowing this element to win will be a defeat to our collective purpose and unity as a nation. Mr. President has shown that he has tact for assembling talent regardless of tribal and religious differences. His appointments were hailed as cutting across geopolitical zones and religious differences. We as an organization therefore pass a vote of well-deserved confidence on the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, a true and unfazed patriot who has restored sanity to our maritime domain. We stand solidly behind him and shall continue to mobilize our people to support him and Mr. President for the good work.
I want to refer you to, there are a lot of media online. I can refer you to data. Going back to 2015, November 2nd, there was a Manchester Policy Week. I was in the UK then, and I did host a program. I hosted a program titled Curbing Crude Oil Theft, Buying with a Conscience. And in that, we were straight, and then we made a lot of inputs. The Vice Chancellor of Refineries of Petroleum Resources was there. The King of Bakassi was present. Dr. Grimot Nane, and a political economist, was also online. And then we profiled a lot of solutions about how to bring in these so-called unlicensed refiners, bring them on stream, license them, give them appropriate technology to service the business. Because as you speak, like I mentioned before, it's all about demand and supply. There's a lot of demand, and if these guys are in business, that means they are meeting some level of demand, or else they would have been out of business. So in 2021, let's fast forward. In 2021, there was a committee headed by Senator Ita Enan. Then he was special assistant to the presidency on the Niger Delta, I remember. And then with the help of the vice president of the country, Professor Sibanjo, there was a conference in Abuja. I was there, March 2021, if I recall very vividly well. And a lot of recommendations came out of that, which gave rise to the current committee at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, headed by a permanent secretary. The solutions are clear there. Bring them in, register them, give them access to crude, let them pay for it, because there are two components. The way they access crude, okay, that we could say it's illegal because they get it from those who bust into the pipelines, and there are a lot of security reports on that. There are a lot of evidence showing everywhere. But the refinery process itself, it's when you say illegal refiners, not necessarily. The refinery component says low-level low-level artisan refinery. But if you upgrade that, which is take out the pollution that it causes, and then you're able to register them, as we speak, you can read the minimum that can be registered by the NMDPROA, which is the former DPRO. It's 1,000 barrels, and there have been propositions to proliferate the whole of the country with 1,000 barrels per day refining capacity. Access multiple refineries that have community-based participation, that can be done. And then once you have community-based participation, you have their BVN, they have access to crude, they take out all the whatever they cannot produce is taken to a bigger catalytic processing machine. It's what they call FCCU, fluid catalytic unit, so that they can crack it further to get more products. This can be done. And again, don't forget, access to crude is a major problem. Let's do mathematics. What is the OPEC quota for Nigeria? And what would the federal government be interested in, especially in terms of the finances of this country? They would prefer to say, meet up the OPEC quota, get some foreign currency, and keep our economy going, since we're majorly a mono economy, oil and gas. So having this refinery come on stream is a major problem. Again, questions should be asked. A lot of licenses were given out for modular refineries, over 20 or 15 in the past how many years? How many of them are on stream now? Why are they not functioning? There is the problem of some of the local refineries which mentioned that they have problems with access to crudes. So these are issues that need to be looked into. And then another thing again we need to be very sure about is that energy issues are national security issues. So if you don't, I hear in the news that one of the major refineries is coming up is going to take crude from the US. Some professionals have asked questions about how does this affect our security. Do we say that the other refineries who have licenses can also take from other countries, for example Russia, and then we're a crude oil producing nation? What are the effects on our economy? How would that solve our current problems? Will it increase it? These are questions. And at what level is our professionals involved? Are we sincere in the processes of giving out marginal fields? For example, there have been proposals that marginal fields should be tied to refineries. If you are issuing out license for marginal fields, it should be able to be tied to refineries. I've also been of the opinion that schools like the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, which is University of Petroleum, how come they are not involved in the downstream sector, or in the midstream, or even in the upstream sector? Yeah, they can be syndicates like that. For example, Warri Refinery, they could be engaged to be participant. ABU Zaria could be engaged to partner or be in some kind of operatorship with Kaduna Refinery. The University of Port Harcourt with their petroleum school can also be involved in that. That way you get some level of transparency. Research outcomes are built into the operations to lower the cost of production and make more money available for investors. That way the business will thrive. But again, there's lack of sincerity in the sector. There's lack of sincerity from the various actors as we speak, and these are issues that are making it impossible. On a final note on this issue, I've always asked a question: if China has this problem of energy deficiency, if China was tagged as energy poor, what would China do? They will break all the rules and make sure that their mini refineries are functional, are proliferated all over the country, so that the products can be really available. So I'm of the opinion that rather than criminalize some of these persons who are involved in the demand and supply chain of refineries, at times I wonder what solutions they want to solve, what solutions they are bringing to the table when they burn tankers, further polluting the environment, that they are carrying illicit products, they are carrying illegal products, and then they confiscate products. There are sections in the Petroleum Industry Act that are very clear about how you dispose of products that are confiscated. If these are brought on board, I think our country will move forward. Currently, Nigerians are in pain. We can't get any supply. It's very expensive. Somebody earns less than $200 a day. As an associate professor, a professor in the university earns less than $235 in a year, in a month. $235,000. And then how much you use to fuel your vehicle? You fuel your vehicle, you do school runs. How much are you? So Nigerians are in pain, and the solutions are right there before us. Proliferate the entire place, license, give appropriate technology to those who are willing. We give a moratorium for say 3, 4, 5 years for those who are willing to bring up 1,000 barrels per day mini refineries that can be scaled up, and then let them have access to crude, tie them to marginal feeds, and then we have availability of products everywhere and possibly export these products. The technology is not rocket science, but the politics have to be right. There must have to be political will. These are my honest opinion about the issue.
Experiences from the past has revealed that the Nigerian government might not be the best business managers. Public opinion even went as far to say the government should keep its hands off business. Hence, it was a well-received news when the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) revealed it was seeking private companies for the operation and maintenance of its Port Harcourt refineries in Rivers State. The NNPC disclosed this on a post on X, formerly Twitter.
The idea of government running public finances or such agency or such establishment is not workable in Nigeria anymore. So, but Nigeria should encourage private partnership or private ownership. Let it not be one or people load those refineries like Port Harcourt. Let's even worry. All those they should be privatized.
You can say we are now suffering on a serious note the issue of the scarcity of fuel, and this makes Nigerians are suffering on a serious note. Yes, so I think it's better that Nigeria should do something about this. Nigeria cannot manage their refinery. Is it not better they should sell it out? If they sell it out, I am 100% sure that the owner will maintain it better and the fuel will be assorted in the country and the masses will not be suffering.
I know corruption cannot finish, but they should not go on privatization, because if they do the privatization, the thing will go bad more and more, because we have tried on NEPA and other things. It does not work. So Nigerians should mind the companies and then manage the company themselves. Federal government should handle the team themselves and know how to take care of the populace instead of saying the profit, because they have tried on other things. It does not work. So I don't see any need of privatizing it.
By privatization, is it a total privatization that the government is going to take, or the government is going to privatize part of the refinery so that it will still have a role to determine how much and what quantity will be out in circulation, and also to control how much product will go outside the country? If it is a total privatization, I think government should have a rethink.
But if you look at the agencies that has been privatized in this country, most of them are not working as it's supposed to, because the way Nigeria privatize their own thing here is different. Because we, particularly Nigeria, we are not disciplined. So if you allow this fuel, these refineries to be in the hands of Nigerians again, there will be no different. So to me, if they want to privatize it, I welcome the idea of privatization, but it does not mean it must be Nigeria that will handle it.
The government will just trust somebody on a particular agency and will leave the person without monitoring. And that brings down all of our economic, all of our problems that we are now facing. If the government stand up and say that, okay, now, anything that we are now doing, the monitoring team will be there, and that monitoring team too will be monitored again. That's check and balancing. That will bring better things to we Nigerians.
Energy issues are national security issues everywhere. If you look at, for example, solar panels are very cheap in Nigeria, and I've always very cheap in Nigeria. And if you try to compete with the foreign companies that are bringing products to Nigeria, you find yourself running into murky waters. The reason is that energy is subsidized everywhere in the world, even in developed world, especially for production. It's subsidized, so the products are cheaper, and then all they think about is how to freight and bring the products here. So there must be concerted efforts by the government to set up clusters. For example, if you are doing clusters and then bring in the private sector and community-based, this can drive it. Why is Petrobras doing very well in Brazil? And again, Aramco, Saudi Aramco, not far away from here, in Saudi Arabia here, they're doing very well as private companies. So the NNPC is expected to run in the same vein, especially when they look at when they emphasize competencies. When competent people are put to man, most of this is not an issue of a quota system where you bring in people in terms of quota, and a certain section of the country feels, oh, we are the owners of the oil, so our people must be there. Everything should be done in a competent manner and run as a business. So I strongly support private sector, and again, institutions should be tied to them. A consortium that have a federal university with competent academics who have industry experience. A good example is the Nigerian liquefied natural gas project. They are doing excellently well, and why can't that model be run with the NNPC and every other sector in the economy? Again, let's compare the NNPC to other private companies, Seplat and the rest of them. They are all on the rise. So why can't the NNPC do the same? So I think it will come back to putting square pegs in square holes and running along with the industry standards, and then things will get better. But as we speak, Nigerians are in pains, and there has to be some quick fixes. And for me, we have always advocated that mini refineries should be pushed to come to commission, and then in a very short cycle, giving moratorium, and then enabled by appropriate technology to start producing products for the local communities to as energy resources. Then we cannot look at, after having some level of energy resilience, so energy sufficiency, then we cannot look at transition.
Cost of palm price when the refineries start functioning is also a cause of concern, since there is widespread worry that the government often doesn't make people-friendly decisions.
The truth is that I can't speak for the NNPC. I will speak as a consumer of these products and an interested stakeholder. So the truth is that it's all demand and supply. If there is a supply, of course, there's a lot of demand for petroleum products, because Nigeria currently is an energy poor country. Energy poor means that we can't really service our population at the current state with what we have, the infrastructure we have on ground, and the current demand and supply equation is not in favor of meeting up the demand. So as a consumer of these products, I can speak from that standpoint. So if these products, if they say the refineries are working, then where are the products going to? Who are the products servicing? So these issues will be clear in the public space if there is actual production of this demand. But again, even though we are energy, we have crude oil in supply and everything. The question I've always asked is that if you are in the market and you are drilling crude oil, which of them will be most interesting to you? Would you want to refine in country and sell in naira, or you want to sell quickly in the crude oil in dollars, make your money, return, go back to production and go in? So these are the questions that we need to ask Nigeria. These are the questions we need to ask the NNPC and some other private investors who are interested in coming into the space to provide these products. So until we have a sincere conversation, we will keep having these speculations, and it's not going to help Nigeria. I'm aware that there is a ministerial committee to bring in small, mini and small refineries. So at the level of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, headed by the permanent secretary. The question is, what has happened to the report that the committee has? I happen to be a member of that committee, and we are eager to see action of government and the reports that we made as at that time. So that report clearly stated out the strategy to bring in small and mini refineries, which can be community based, and they can do what they want to do. They can be able to do production at mini scales and be able to supply the local demands.
As Nigeria strives to fix the issues of energy poverty, concerns are raised about environmentally related risks. People living around areas that crude oil mining take place have oftentimes decried the impact on their environment and continuous negligence of the federal government and Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC). According to a report by Agence France Presse (AFP), the year of 2023 was the hottest on record, with the increase in Earth's surface temperature nearly crossing the critical threshold of 1.5 Celsius. Climate change intensified heat waves, droughts, wildfires across the planet, and pushed the global thermometer 1.48 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial benchmark. The Cabinet finding come 1 month after a climate agreement was reached at COP28 in Dubai, calling for the gradual transition away from fossil fuel, the main cause of climate warming. Since Nigeria's primary source of energy is fossil fuel, do we have to worry about contributing to climate change?
I recently finished my fellowship on climate action in India, Anand School of Climate Action. And one of the key things that came out of some of our discussions on the environment and energy resources is the issue of the atmosphere not having boundaries. The atmosphere not having boundaries. There are no boundaries in the atmosphere. So something is happening in Port Harcourt, it has an impact in Delta states. It has an impact in Cameroon. So environment is of major concern. Out of the three wheels that drive what they call sustainability, which is the environment, economics, and social, the environment is the largest and the most prominent. Environment is everything outside of you, the person considering the environment. Everything outside of the person considering the environment. So everything around is environment. Everything within your is environment. So the point is that yes, environment is a major issue, but again, there are companies which are striving to what they call net zero. Net zero is that you don't add extra carbon to the environment, but rather you work within that form of net zero. There are net zero prices that are going on for some of the oil and gas producing companies as we speak. Okay, so efforts have to be made, and they have to be incentivized. For example, there is carbon credit infrastructure that is in place. The government can enable such kind of not just conferences or signing accords without necessarily putting in the strategy and the tactics to bring the strategies to fore. There need to be concerted effort to reward companies which are already heading towards net zero. The other thing again is that clean one. It's not all about just fossil fuel. There have been serious scientific research to show that what we should be talking about is cleaner energy usage, not necessarily against fossil fuel. Because if you do, as we speak today, there's still a lot. They still lack clarity in what we call renewable energy. For example, if you look at solar panels, if you look at where they mine the silicon, and then you look at what they call life cycle analysis, you still find out that there are some of these sources that are being called green. They are not necessarily green. And again, let's look at the contribution to pollution. Africa contributes, as of today, contributes less than 3 to 4% of the pollution. So, how much the pledges have been made by advanced countries who have self-indicted themselves in polluting the world up to this now. They made a lot of pledges to sustain the researches and also developments of greener energy. How much of these countries? How much have they put on the table compared to their pledges? Okay, so these are issues. So you can't just say you are living fossil fuel. It's like, how do I say it now? You're wearing a white cloth, and then somebody is wearing a white cloth. Then you get to a dangerous spot where you need to cross dirty, murky waters, and then you carry the other person. You cross the waters, and after you cross, the person say you are dirty because you are stained by the water. But you help the person to get to where the person is going to. So the question is how much of renewable energy is used for renewable energy infrastructure and equipment. So there need to be clear, sincere conversation about these issues. I believe that if you can clean up your act, for example, using gas, and you're able to like blue hydrogen. Blue hydrogen is hydrogen gotten from petroleum products. Okay, then to an extent you are having some level of greener energy production, less pollution coming from your product. So I think the efforts, especially for Nigeria, is to look at cleaner production of energy. How much gas can we supply to some of these generation companies, electricity generation companies, so that they can produce more electricity and make electricity more available to people, and then they are able to contain whatever effluents and whatever greenhouse gases that come out of the operations. That way, you reduce the carbon footprint. So efforts should be towards reduction of carbon footprint using appropriate technology, and then again having sincere conversation about how to move forward rather than just say fossil fuel will go out like that. So if you feel that fossil fuel, what are you going to be using? Which of them are available to Nigeria? And again, I keep just to reiterate, energy is a national security issue. So it's what you have that you can use to stabilize. After you have stabilized, then you cannot talk about transition. Where are we transiting from in Nigeria? Are we transiting from an energy poor country nation to an energy sufficient country, or to greener energy? So first and foremost, we need to stabilize. We need the support of the powers that be, the developed nations, whether in the West or in the East or in Asian countries. We need their support in terms of finance and also technology, because again, there are no boundaries in the skies. So whatever we do here in Nigeria affects other parts of the continent. So there has to be a synergy in a sincere manner so that we can tackle this problem. I believe there is global warming. I believe there are a lot of the greenhouse gases are having effects in the sky. I know that evidence to support that. But again, what approach are we using? Okay, if we remove the politics and we face pure technology and science, I think we can make some headway.
Despite the harsh economic times, Nigerians are still advised to be patient and look up to better times to come, and to stop putting so much pressure on the president for a magical fix for the challenges that seem so insurmountable. Should this advice be heeded?
I don't have adequate information to talk about that sincerity, but I do know that efforts have been made. Like I mentioned, there's a ministerial committee set up by the current administration. I'm not a politician. I'm a technocrat. I know I've attended meetings at the Federal Ministry at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, headed by the Permanent Secretary, because I was sent by my university to represent. And there's a professor from ABU Zaria and a staff from Petroleum Training Institute, and all the agencies that are involved in petroleum, oil and gas operations. They are all present in that committee. I think the committee at the stage, our report has been prepared and submitted for a while. So talking about sincerity, there was recently there was a publication on to get the private sector driven operatorship of the Port Harcourt Refinery. I learned Warri Refinery might come on board too. If the government is listening, my appeal is that people who are passionate about developing this country should be involved. For example, universities within that environment, if it is 1% or 2%, they should be part of that kind of consortium. So that to bring some level of transparency. If these are done, things can get better. I've always believed it can always be better, and I always look at things as half full rather than half empty. So if these efforts by the government have been done, and then the conference that was put up by the previous administration, even using the office of the vice president then to drive it with Senator Etaina, if those recommendations are reviewed and worked upon, then we have proliferation of adequately sustained mini refineries all over Nigeria, and again bringing academia in, and then we can have some energy resilience, because there's danger coming forth in the near future. Foreign direct investments will go down for oil and gas assets. Foreign direct investment will go down, and if those foreign direct investments go down, what are we going to hang on? So why don't you do small-scale refineries, and then within the cluster of 25 of these refineries connected by waterways, possibly light rail, the ones they cannot refine are collected together and sent to what they call a bigger refinery within that location that can take up those things, or recycling plants that can take them up and provide and process those plants, and they are brought back to the level where consumers can use them in their respective way in a very clean manner. If these are done, I think and this can be done quickly. All we need is the political will, and then putting competent people in the right positions, not favoring one or two people. If this is done, Nigerians will see it clearly what is happening, and the question about sincerity will not be there because action speaks louder than words.
My name is Iribami Salako, and this is Firecrackers.